Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, it's Football at 4.
All right, let's do it. Welcome back. It's a Ryan Rye edition of the Sports Bash here, and we're not in studio. We are hanging out inside the Gallery Bar Book and Games over at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. Ryan Rothstein alongside Danny Ryan, Josh Hennig producing this show. So, Football at 4. We'll bring in Adam Kaplan from InsideTheBirds.com. And Football at 4 is brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. So a lot to get to here surrounding the Philadelphia Eagles. And it's always great to catch up with Adam Kaplan, who's going to provide all the insight and latest surrounding the team. Adam, how are we doing today, man?
Guys, I'm well. Yeah, make sure you listen to our podcast, which is the number one reason I'm on the show, and that is because our Andrew Duchecko filled in for me today with Mosher for a long show. I know people have enjoyed Andrew's work for us. Of course, he writes for our website, but he also filled in for me here, and we love having him. But, yeah, here we are. So it's Eagles-Giants. The Eagles have lost 3 in a row. They've got injury issues. Giants have injury issues, and the Eagles' offensive line at guard's pretty banged up, so we can get through that stuff if you want.
Yeah, let's get right into it here. We'll preview this matchup on Christmas Day, and as you mentioned, the injury issues not going away seem to be piling up. And let's start on offense, as you mentioned. At guard, Landon Dickerson, thumb surgery, not expected to play. Right guard, Cam Jurgens. And then we hear wide receiver Devontae Smith, a knee, did not practice again today. So give us all the latest and insight on those injuries.
All right, so Dickerson's our left guard. So Opeta he can play either guard spot. It's interesting, Ryan. When the Eagles signed Opeta in 19, he had trouble, as we reported this a couple years ago, playing both sides. He can only play really one side. Now he's shown the ability to play left guard or right guard. So he's kind of ahead of Tyler Steen in that way. Jurgens is expected to play, barring some sort of a setback. He did miss the recent games here with that pectoral injury, but he took all his reps the last 2 days, so barring something unforeseen, he should be in the lineup. Now, Devontae Smith, guys, this is the first time I think all season that he's missed 2 days in a row. Tomorrow's their last practice. Let's see what happens tomorrow. Obviously, if he doesn't practice, it's almost certain he wouldn't play. Players who don't practice during the week rarely play. It's not impossible, but it would be hard for him to play. Olamide Zaccheaus and Quez Watkins would see, obviously, increased time if he can't play, but that's not good. And defensively, Nick Morrow and Zach Cunningham. I'd be shocked if he played. This would be 3 weeks that he's missed all their practices. He hasn't practiced since he got hurt. And now Nick Morrow didn't practice again today, so it's an abdomen injury. We don't know much more than that. That would worry me. Darius Slay obviously will not play after the knee surgery. There's hope that he could potentially play Week 18, certainly by the start of the playoffs. They do expect him back. And the good news is Avonte Maddox continues to play practice. Now he's coming back from pectoral surgery. This is interesting. C.J. Gardner-Johnson had the same surgery around the same time, and he is not going to play for the Lions. Now, what's interesting is both guys started practicing this week. Gardner-Johnson is not being cleared to play for the Lions at the Vikings in a big game in the NFC North, and Maddox is doing well. So, in fact, Maddox has practiced more than Gardner-Johnson did. I'm just bringing it up because they had a similar surgery and injury. So here's the way it would work. They had 21 days from his activation to this window. Maddox, if they feel like he can do it, will play Monday night. Monday late afternoon to the early evening. It's just a matter of conditioning and how they think he could do. But, guys, if he can return here, it keeps Eli Ricks on the outside where he belongs. You don't have to play Bradley Roby as much. I mean, it certainly would help their defense.
Yeah, so you mentioned Smith, and then you touched on the defensive side. What do those positions look like? Let's just go glass half empty here. For some reason Smith is not able to give it a go, yeah. What does the offense look like with him out of the lineup? And then just copy and paste that question, Adam Kaplan, for the linebackers and the secondary. What do we have to work with here?
Yeah, I didn't mention Julio Jones, but he just is a non-factor. He just, he barely has done anything. He did score a red zone touchdown, as we know, early on. But so what would happen if he couldn't play, if Devontae Smith couldn't play? Watkins and Zacchaeus would be your outside receivers. We know that Watkins and Zacchaeus could also play inside. Devontae's played inside. A.J. Brown could play inside. But because he's such a playmaker, Devontae Smith, and he could run, you could use him on 9 routes, you could use him on shallower routes, 7 routes, and so forth. It would hurt. I mean, it definitely would hurt against the Giants' defense, which is going to blitz them. Well, guys, that's the thing, is that there's no mystery what Wink Martindale, the defense coordinator for the Giants, is. High splits percentage of the National Football League. You know it's coming. You just know this guy very well. They handled him last year, as you know, both regular season and in the playoffs. But it makes it harder. There's no question about it. And then defensively, if Morrow and Cunningham can't play, well, it's Leonard, obviously. Leonard's going to start because Cunningham we don't expect to play. And then Ben Van Sumeren, guys, the undrafted free agent who got paid pretty well to be an undrafted free agent out of Michigan State, is really only a special teams player. They would start. They could also play more big nickel, move a linebacker into the box. And then Brandon Smith, who was overdrafted by the Panthers last year, who was cut, a 4th rounder, they probably would have to move him up from the practice squad. Guys, it would look ugly. It's not ideal. And Saquon Barkley probably would be a guy that the Giants would want to get heavily involved if that were to happen.
Adam, talk to me about the Giants' injury issues. I mean, you have Evan Neal going through his own version of an ankle injury, Dexter Lawrence nursing a hamstring injury. How big could that be for the Eagles if those two weren't to play on Monday afternoon?
Well, Evan Neal's not going to play, as I understand it. So they'll go with Tyree Phillips, who's really more of a guard. And by the way, he used to be with the Eagles. Let's not forget, he was with the Eagles for a short time. And they brought him back. They're so beat up. So Justin Pugh was on his couch, and then he has his T-shirts made. He's played left tackle this season for Andrew Thomas. He's back at guard. He's not playing great. Some people think he should retire. Evan Neal's not going to play. As I said, Phillips, who's more of a guard than a tackle, he'll fill in there. That's a great matchup for the Eagles, who just cannot get to the quarterback. Pressure numbers are one thing. Sack numbers are different. Pressure numbers are always situational. You have to actually question how close what people are grading them, how close the quarterback had to move off his spot. That's important to know that. And then the big one is Dexter Lawrence has this hamstring injury. Now, he's had it for a couple weeks. He didn't practice the last 2 days. That would be devastating. He's their best lineman, probably their best defensive player, guys. If he can't play, that would be huge for the Eagles' pass and run game.
Talking with Adam Kaplan from Inside the Birds. Give him a follow at Kaplan NFL, NFL Insider, Eagles Insider, of course, provides excellent insight. Make sure you check out all of his work with Inside the Birds. All right, so Eagles have been struggling. I think that's something we're all well aware of, Adam, and coming off a devastating Super Bowl loss, right? You start to wonder, right? Super Bowl hangover? I mean, what do you make of that statement? Obviously, Eagles dealing with injuries. Do you look at everything going on and say, yeah, this Super Bowl hangover is a real thing in the NFL, and the Eagles are hungover?
Yeah, Brian, it's a real thing. I wanted to talk about this today because this is starting to come out and be discussed on social media and on television at the networks. But let me explain the way teams say it. This is what I've gotten from clubs. So the number one reason why teams don't get back to the Super Bowl, were they the winner the year before or the runner-up, injuries. And obviously the Eagles have had their share of them. Where last year, let's not forget, all 22 starters who started in Week 1 against Detroit started in the Super Bowl. Well, why did you think they got there? Because their roster was the best, and they didn't have anyone who missed the Super Bowl. So that's number one. Number two, personnel changes, free agency losses. The Eagles lost 7 starters in free agency. 2 that now we could debate how big the loss of Isaac Seumalo was. Cam Jurgens starts for him, and then Miles Sanders, who's got benched in Carolina. Boy, they might have to eat that $6 million that's fully guaranteed, over $6 million fully guaranteed next season. So it's personnel changes and free agency losses. Okay, that's when you lose players. And don't forget, Avonte Maddox has been out since Week 2. He got hurt against the Vikings. So you're basically down 6 starters. We count a nickel corner as a 6 starter, Ryan. Mm-hmm. So you're down 8 players.
Yeah,
that's just of 22. It's hard to overcome that. Now, this one is probably equal. Coaching losses, promotions, new hires. This is a major issue when you look at both coordinators left for head coaching jobs. Quarterback coach. Well, Brian Johnson was promoted, right? This is a promotion. Alex Tanney is a first-time quarterbacks coach. He retired 3 years ago. This is the first year that he's running a room. Does he really know how to coach hard? Is he ready to really develop a quarterback? That's a question. That's something Eagles have to look at. He's very smart, and I know they're very high on him. I reported a couple months ago that Shane Steichen wanted to take him with him to the Colts, and the Eagles made sure that didn't happen, and they promoted him. So you have to look at that, guys. I mean, the Eagles have 5 new coaches on defense. They have promotions. They lost key coaches on offense. That's big. And this one I got from players, overconfidence and entitlement. You think you can just get back, and you think you're great. We saw this after the 17 Super Bowl. Now, the Eagles had more injury problems, but I sense an overconfidence in 18 guys from talking to the players. So injuries, personnel changes, free agency losses, coaching losses, promotions, new hires, overconfidence and entitlement. I think you got to look at all those things.
Yeah, and you know, something that we talked about earlier, Adam, which ties into everything that you just laid out for us. You know, Nick Sirianni, he's only in year 3 in the NFL as a head coach. Jalen Hurts, a stud, only year 3 as a starting quarterback in the NFL. You outlined everything that this team has had to deal with, most notably changes to the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. Forget the injuries, which are a huge factor, as you've mentioned, right? Like, it's a lot on these guys' plates who are still trying to figure out who they are in the NFL, right?
Right, and let's not forget, Sirianni, and I have to look at Dick Vermeil's situation, who's a Hall of Famer. Sirianni to make the playoffs in his first 3 seasons is incredible.
Yeah.
Really is. I think sometimes, Ryan, fans are a little bit too unrealistic. Yes, there have been some things he needs to clean up. But to do that in your first 3 years and make a Super Bowl in year 2, it's incredible. I mean, it really, look, Doug Peterson made the Super Bowl in year 2. He had a losing record, 7-9. And let's not forget, Doug lost a lot of key coaches after his second season, and that absolutely cost him, and Doug did not do a great job of replacing those coaches. So overall, look, that's it. I mean, as we just outlined it. So I think fans have to be realistic. They don't have to accept it that the Eagles aren't as good. I understand that. You're entitled to have any kind of opinion you want. But I want everyone, the key we created this concept of Inside the Bird 6 years ago is I wanted people to think more and be smarter instead of just yelling and screaming. It's just not how you learn. And we'll always do that, and that will never waver.
Yeah. As fun as yelling and screaming is, you know, sometimes you have to dial it back.
Yeah, but we want you to be smarter when you yell. Okay, now I know why I'm yelling. Okay, but anyway.
That's fair enough. All right, just be an intelligent yeller. I can get behind that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Adam Kaplan, we'll get you out of here. On your way out, though, Adam, just promote everything once again. I know you mentioned the podcast and everything else to start. And if you want to throw a prediction for Christmas Day, I'm not going to force you, but if you want, go ahead.
Oh, I have to make that Monday, but
okay, all right.
I'd be shocked if the Eagles lost. I mean,
yeah.
Of our group, of the 4 people who are on our pregame show, myself, Jeff Mosher, of course, Jason Devine, and Greg Cosell, I think I'm in first place in the game picks. I rarely pick against the Eagles. It's been sort of easy money, so to speak. But my big issue for the Eagles is to use these 3 games, 2 against the Giants, 1 against the Cardinals, as a way to get well. I know you can't count on anything the Eagles do anymore because they've failed the last 3 weeks. But the other thing is they're not playing with a lot of confidence. And you beat bad football teams, you should get a little confidence back. Not overconfident, but get the swagger back. Boy, do they need a swagger, and I expect it to happen Monday.
Adam Kaplan, everybody, excellent stuff. As always, give him a follow at Kaplan NFL and make sure you are subscribed to everything the guys over at InsideTheBirds.com are putting out there. Adam, we appreciate your time on this Friday. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your holiday. And, Happy New Year. We'll catch up with you here soon.
All right, you too, guys. Thanks.